I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I got some not so great news for Auburn football fans, and this isn't coming from me. This is coming from your head coach, Hugh. I'm going to be honest with you, that's not something you wanted to hear heading into the 2024 college football season. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you had a great week. Hope all of you had a great day. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. Count down the days, man. We are officially 8 days away until college football. And guess what? Tomorrow is going to be the last Saturday without college football for a very long time. I'm excited. It's going to be a great season. It's going to be awesome. But that is besides the point. In today's video, we got to talk about what in the world is going on with Alabama and Auburn. It's been a relatively quiet offseason on the Plains, and you could say the same for Alabama. Considering the circumstances, haven't heard much of anything with the new head coach and really knew everything that's going on at Alabama. For those of you that haven't seen the past couple of videos, we sort of have a new mini-series going on heading into the season, just checking up on all these teams and what it's looking like heading into their seasons. A couple of days ago, we did Oklahoma and Tennessee. Yesterday, we did, actually, who did we do yesterday? Hold on. I am drawing a complete blank. Who did we do? Oh, yeah, LSU and Texas A&M. I don't know why I was struggling to remember that. And today, we got Alabama and Auburn. I say all that to say this. If you want to see me talk about your favorite team, or it doesn't got to be your favorite team, it could be any team in general, leave a comment down below. And also in that comment, write what you want me to talk about. Is there a certain position group you want me to talk about? How are they doing on offense, offensive line, wide receivers, running backs, and same thing for defense. We're not trying to go too deep into detail with these videos, so just keep that in the back of your mind. Getting all that out the way, let's talk about Alabama first. Since they beat Auburn last year in the bowl game, we'll give them the honors. This isn't brand new knowledge on the channel. I have quite a few sources in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Been on the phone with a few of these guys that have been at the practices and the scrimmages during fall. And the one player that everybody continues to bring up to me, and I'm going to bring it up to you guys, is Caleb Odom. Some of you might remember this. I got a feeling a lot of you don't. Over a year and a half ago, I made a video talking about how good he was in high school. And y'all know this. I'm not the type of guy to hype up high school recruits, and we don't even talk about them that much, if all, on the channel. When's the last time you see me make a video that is strictly just about a high school athlete? It's not something that happens a lot on this channel. We mostly just talk about the guys in college. I know what you may be sitting here saying, well, Matt, why are you so high on this guy? Why are you hyping him up? Great question, my friend. I have an even better answer. It's because he's 6'6", 230 pounds, and plays like a wide receiver. Here's a kicker with that. Coming out of high school, they had him listed as a tight end, and that's where he took most of his snaps. But from everything I've heard, Caleb Odom has been taking a majority of the reps at Alabama at the wide receiver position. He's faster than what people think. He's bigger than what people think. He's a matchup nightmare. This is all I need to say. Imagine a 6'6" guy, 230 pounds, with the skills of a star wide receiver. He's unguardable. Simple as that. If he high points the football, you're not going to be able to beat him. I'm so high on this Caleb Odom kid, and I just hope he goes out there, and if he does have a good year, you remember us talking about him before the season even started. Since we started off talking about him at wide receiver, let's talk about some of the other wide receivers. And yeah, I'm going to bring his name up. It's the cliche one, Mr. Ryan Williams. That is the prestigious 5-star recruiter, and I'm not going to sit up here and hype him up too much just because you've heard everyone hype him up. He's outstanding. Believe the hype. These past couple of years at the wide receiver position in Alabama, I'm not going to say they've been bad because that's delusional, but they haven't been good. Bama got really spoiled in that 2 or 3 year stretch where they had Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Waddle. Then after that, it wasn't too big of a drop-off because you had John Mechie and Jameson Williams. But ever since the Mechie and Williams era, hasn't been good. Well, you could say it's been good, but the point is, you get what I'm saying. It's been okay. Nothing special. And what we've been lacking, is the main point I'm trying to get to, is we don't have that number one guy. In the later half of the season last year, I was really pleased with how the wide receiver group came together. Although we didn't have a standout, everybody was playing solid. But we did lose one of, if not our best wide receiver, in Isaiah Bond. But to tell you the truth, I don't think anybody out there should be worrying about Alabama when it comes to skilled position players. They'll be okay. Offensive line, I've heard they look outstanding, they look great. But y'all remember what happened last year, right? Everybody was saying that Alabama offensive line last year was going to be one of the best of all time, and we saw that turned out. So I'm taking the offensive line talk with a grain of salt. I got to see it to believe it. Quarterback position, there's not even a conversation to be had there. I don't know why people try to make it seem like Jalen Milroe is not the guy, because he is. It's his job. Jalen Milroe was one of the best quarterbacks in the nation last year, as do I Bama fans thought he'd have to compete for his job heading into this season, I have no idea. If you don't like Jalen Milroe, you don't believe in him, or you don't think he's good, you're just a straight up hater. Period. The end. When you look at the stats and analytics, he was one of the best deep ball throwers in the nation. The reason I bring that up is because what does everybody say about him? Oh yeah, he's an outstanding runner and athlete, but he can't pass. Well, how does that make sense? Riddle me that, partner. If he's not a great passer, or even a good one at that, like some people say, why was he one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the nation? Blows my mind, man. Blows my mind. Continuing along to the running back position, it's Bama. You know they're going to be solid. On the flip side of the ball for the defense, yeah, it's going to be interesting. You got the new defensive coordinator coming in, Kane Womack, and I like him and I like his principles, but we don't know how it's going to turn out, so I'm not going to sit up here and try to guess. Front seven looks good. Secondary, they look pretty mid. I'm not worried because, trust me, I'd tell you if I was worried, but I'm not confident in the secondary. We don't have a lot of experience because, remember, we lost Kool-Aid to the NFL, Terrion Arnold to the NFL, but one thing that gets lost in all this is we also lost Caleb Downs, not to the NFL, but to Ohio State. So we lost 3 studs right there. Not to say that the new guys can't be as good as those guys, but they need experience. It's not just in college football, it's in every sport, and it's in life. You can practice all you want, but you gotta get out there and get the in-game reps to get better. I'll give you a good example. This is a great analogy. Have you ever been golfing before? You can go to the driving range and hit 20 straight balls, pure 30 straight shots, have a great practice, but when you get on that tee box in front of your buddies or you have people watching, it's different. By the way, speaking of golf, I shot my career low yesterday, 76, 3 birdies. All right, flex break over, getting back on track. You get my point. You got to have the in-game reps. Everything else, I'm going to keep it a Fortnite V-Buck with all my Bama fans. I'd be feeling really good heading into this season. Speaking of season, let's pull up the schedule. We've done that with all the other teams, so hey, why not? We'll do it here. And I haven't even looked at their schedule. Starting out the season with a couple cupcakes. You got Western Kentucky and USF, and I already know you're going to have some nerd in the comment section. Well, Matt, actually, USF isn't a cupcake because last year y'all struggled with them and only won 17-3. Shut up, nerd. Number 1, that game was never in jeopardy. And number 2, we was testing out our second and third string quarterback. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Bama could have scored another touchdown at the end to push it to 24-3, but they decided not to. And since when is winning 17-3 frowned upon? That's 14 points. What's the difference from beating them 35-21 and 17-3? Nothing. I digress. Heading into week 3, I guess you could say this is your first real big test. Alabama goes to, this isn't neutral site, they go to Wisconsin. 11 a.m. kickoff. Woo, what about that? I've seen so many people say, oh man, Alabama's got to watch out for Wisconsin. They got to watch out for the Badgers. Kalen DeBoer's first game on the road. Psh, come on, man. Are you kidding me? Wisconsin is irrelevant. A team like Wisconsin has a very, and I mean a very slim shot of beating a team like Alabama, Ohio State, or Georgia. Any team like that. And the reason for that is because they simply don't have the athletes to compete. I'll give you a good example. So last year, Florida, what'd they wind up going? 7-5, 6-6, something like that. Florida was not a very good team on paper. However, Florida has one thing that a team like Wisconsin doesn't have. Florida has the athletes to compete with Bama. Wisconsin doesn't. Moving along here, you got number 1 team in the nation, the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm not going to hype it up. You know, it's a big-time game. Vanderbilt, hey, nice to see Vandy back on the schedule. That's a free dubski. You got South Kakalaki. That should be a free dubski. Then you go to Neyland Stadium. Ooh, and after that, I low-key forgot Bama had to play Missouri this year. That's a tough little 3-game stretch. To Neyland, you got Mizzou. That might be a fringe top 10 team. Then you go to Baton Rouge. Got a cupcake in Mercer. Shout out to Mercer for the free dubski. And then you got OU, Oklahoma, Boomer Sooner, and the Auburn Tigers. I tell you what, that is a pretty brutal schedule. You got 5 not just top 25 teams, but you're playing 5 top 16 teams. Wisconsin could easily, I'm talking about easily, be ranked by week 3. I think everybody's going to point to the Georgia game for obvious reasons, but the one I'm circling, and I think it might be even harder than the Georgia game, is right before Auburn. You got Oklahoma. Football is all about matchups. I've said this every single year, and I've predicted the Alabama and Georgia game right every single year for the past 4 to 5 matchups because it's relatively simple. Georgia matches up terribly against Alabama. What is Georgia and Kirby Smart? Alabama 2.0. We just took everything Alabama did and moved it over to Georgia. And I'm not saying he stole Alabama's recipe of success, but you get what I'm saying. A team that likes to run the ball and play great defense and have a game manager quarterback, that feeds in Alabama's hand. Not to say that I think Oklahoma's a better team than Georgia. It's more so if Alabama's not used to playing in Oklahoma. And another reason why that game would scare me a little bit if I'm a Bama fan is because it's right before Auburn, the rival matchup. No lie, I could sit up here and talk about their schedule in these games for the next 20 minutes. I've already spent way too much time talking about Bama. I do apologize. Let's move on to Auburn. The good old Auburn Tigers. Now, this year really was the year I was looking forward to when they hired Hugh Freeze. It wasn't year one. I didn't give a crap about year one because it didn't matter if he lost every single game. They weren't going to fire him. Year two is the one where the boosters and the fans are like, all right, you got a year under your belt. Well, now it's time to win some games and go 8-4, 9-3. Worst case in scenario. This is the year that really matters, and there's just something about it. I love watching a team where the coach, he's on the hot seat. For me, I was in a similar situation as the boosters and the fans. When it comes to a head coach in his first year, I'm not going to criticize him too much. It takes a while to get your guys in there, your coaching staff in there, and to get things running the way you want them. Let me give you some more context on how I view things. Year one, don't criticize at all. Year two, a little bit, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Year three is where I'm like, all right, it's time to put up or shut up. And year four as well, there's no more excuses. Whereas for your normal college football fan, I think it's like this. Halfway through year one, not going to criticize you. In the second half of year one, all right, it's time to win some games and it's time to prove something. And then by year two, if you're not exceeding expectations, they want you gone. That is how normal college football fans act. We see it every single year. Coaches get a shorter and shorter leash. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I got some not so great news for Auburn football fans, and this isn't coming from me. This is coming from your head coach, Hugh Freeze. Although we haven't been talking about Auburn and all these teams, you better believe this. I've been keeping up with them closely. And your boy Hugh Freeze stated this about the offensive line. Quote unquote, the O-line is probably one of the tighter groups we have. I do think we have a ways to go there. That's probably been my biggest worry about the offense right now, believe it or not. I think our receivers are going to come on and be fine. O-line wise, just get them to jail and get on the same page. It's also been reported that some of the other offensive linemen have been extremely frustrated with how things have been going this offseason. I'm going to be honest with you, that's not something you wanted to hear heading into the 2024 college football season. As far as it goes for Auburn receivers, I'm in the same boat as Hugh Freeze. Not concerned, they have talent. It's going to work out. Same thing with the running backs. Auburn has always had great backs, and I think Payton Thorne is, well, we'll get to him in just a second. While I would be really worried if I'm an Auburn fan, and Hugh Freeze even stated it's his biggest worry, his offensive line isn't good. And that's not coming from me. That is coming from your head coach. And before we talk about quarterback play, wide receiver play, running back play, that is the most important thing. That is what matters the most. That is the first line of action. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I do not care if you have Tom Brady back there. If your offensive line sucks and they can't block, even Tom freaking Brady is going to struggle. And that's the end of the conversation. I'm not even going to talk about the wide receivers, running backs, and quarterback play too much because until you fix offensive line, that doesn't amount to a hill of beans. Do I need to say anything more? You saw what happened last year to Shadur Sanders, didn't you? And why this is so bad is because think about it. What was the problem last year for Auburn, or one of their many problems? The offensive line. I'll get back to Payton Thorne in just a second. Defense, I've heard they're looking pretty good. I've had two of my sources tell me about this guy and how good he's been in practice. Amaris Williams. He was one of the last 5 stars to commit and sign with Auburn here recently. He's been a standout on defense, and once he gets more reps, he'll probably play quite a bit. He might start in the second half of the season. Outside of that, I haven't heard too much. I do expect the defense to be relatively solid. Let's go back to your starting quarterback, Payton Thorne. Do I believe Payton Thorne is a good quarterback? Yes. You're probably sitting there going, well, Matt, you didn't sound too confident in that answer, and, well, it's because I'm not. Last year at times, he wasn't just good. He was great. He showed flashes of greatness against Alabama and against Georgia and some other teams. At the same time, his bad, it's pretty bad. But what I was told all year long, and it's all I kept hearing, and even Hugh Freeze talked about it after, who did they beat early on in this season out west? What was that team? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. It's where they missed like 4 field goals. Who was that? Oh yeah, it was California. Auburn shouldn't have won that game. They won it. They got extremely fortunate. And after that game, remember, it's their second game. Hugh Freeze is talking about, oh, yeah, well, It's not Payton Thorne's fault the offense isn't clicking. The offensive line, they're messing up some things, and the wide receivers, and we're just miscommunicating everything. And I was like, okay, well, second game of the year, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But then he was saying the same stuff after the Texas A&M game, and I'm like, what are we doing? We're heading into week 5, and you're still miscommunicating things? And I couldn't decipher whether or not Hugh Freeze was taken up for a starting quarterback, trying to, build his morale, or the offensive line, wide receiver unit, everybody was just not on the same page. But I'm going to tell you what, I'm not giving Payton Thorne any excuses this year. Last year, I did a little bit. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, well, Auburn sucks, so, it is what it is. And when the rest of your team sucks as a quarterback, it makes it that much harder. But no, this year, sorry, Payton Thorne, I'm not giving you a pass. This is what, Payton Thorne's 5th year of college football? If you don't have a good year, buddy, you're going to be selling insurance this time next year, so you better go out there and ball out. We'll take a little sneak peek at Auburn's schedule heading into 2024. Hey, why not? What in the crap? They open up with A&M? Talking about a cupcake. Then they go to Cal. Wait a minute. Didn't they go to Cal last year? Oh, wait, no. That's a home game. My apologies. I don't know why I thought that was on the road. That's going to be a nice little tester. Then you got New Mexico. Wait. That's not. Okay, no, that's just the regular New Mexico. New Mexico State last year's a team that beat them. Yeah, Auburn don't want nothing to do with New Mexico State. And then you got Arkansas. That's 4 straight home games. Wait, they have 5 straight home games to open this season. What in the world? Realistically speaking, Auburn should start out the year 4-0. Will that happen? Don't know. Worst case scenario, 3-1. If you start out 2-2, that's just bad. Because that means you lost both of those games to California and Arkansas, and Arkansas is not that good of a team. The big pivotal game, though, I think that's going to make or break their season is against Oklahoma. Whether or not you're 3-1, 4-0 heading into that game's going to matter a ton. You do get it at home, and then you got a brutal 3-game stretch to Georgia. I don't even got to say anything about that. To Mizzou and to Kentucky. And yeah, that's right. I'm throwing Kentucky in there. That's not an easy place to win at. And the reason I say that is because I love their quarterback. Former Georgia quarterback Brock Vandagriff. Watch out for Kentucky. Maybe we need to talk about them in the future. You do got a nice little cupcake, a little free dubski against Vandy. Shout out to Vandy keeping up the GPA in the SEC. Then you got Louisiana Monroe. Should be a cupcake, but Bama lost to them in 2007. Then you got I forgot they played A&M. You got A&M at home, and then you go to Alabama. Good luck. That's all I'm going to say. You're going to need it. And I'll end out the video with this. I don't believe in Hugh Freeze. And it pains me to say that because heading into the season last year, I did. But I think the game has slowly but surely, not entirely, but a little bit, passed him by. I'll give you an Alabama fan's perspective. Who do I fear more? Hugh Freeze or Gus Malzahn? It's easy. Gus Malzahn. And I still can't believe to this day they fired him. I personally don't expect Auburn to have a great season. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about them. But me personally, without giving you an exact record prediction, I'm not telling you who I think is going to win what game. I think best case scenario, they win 8 of these. There's no way Auburn wins 9 games. No shot. Worst case scenario, about like last year, you struggle to make a bowl game. Let's look back at it. Let's look at the hard games. Oklahoma, Georgia, Mizzou, and why not? We'll throw Kentucky in there. A&M, and Alabama. So you got 6 games that, as it stands right now, you're not going to be favored to win. And I could easily see them dropping 1 out of 2 to California or Arkansas. I got them floating around 6 to 8 wins, especially with all the reports coming out from Hugh Freeze that the offensive line isn't that good. If you don't have a good O-line in the SEC, you could say good night. You're going to get eaten alive. We'll find out more about them after the first couple of games, so stay tuned. Let me know your thoughts down below about that.